pay attention to these little feelings that you're having inside because this is where everything starts. Yes, you have the money, but if you feel like, wow, I don't feel like myself, then pay attention to that because it's like, how do you have all this money but you don't feel like yourself?
Hello, and welcome to the Mindset and Self-Mastery Show. I'm your host, Nick McGowan. Today on the show, we have Cleous Young. Cleous, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, good, good. Very good today.
Well, man, I'm excited that you're here. I'm good. I'm really good. You know, maybe I can add a few more goods like you did. I appreciate when somebody gives a real answer or when they're like, when they're like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Instead of somebody being like, how are you? I'm shit. This is awful. Fuck. Why did I wake up this morning? That's a
Yeah.
totally different feeling. So,
I had an event yesterday, and it's a little unique event, and it went tremendously well. So it's like the residual from yesterday is still hanging on today. So it's like, yeah, I woke up feeling good, but then I thought about the event and the outcome, and it was like, hey, add some more goods to that. Yeah.
cool. I love that. Riding on a high in a sense. That's also part of what this show is about. We talk about mindset, self mastery, and transformation, and being able to understand that some days are going to be great because you're riding a high. Some days you might be grieving because of the thing that happened the day before. And there's stuff to get into all of that. So, why don't you kick us off? Why don't you tell us what you do for a living and what's one thing most people don't know about you that's maybe a little odd or bizarre?
I work in the community. I have a nonprofit, and one of the things that we actually particularly specialize in is helping people figuring out things. For me, that's what I had to do for my own life. So even now, I have this context. It's called transfiguration, where it's like saying trans, right? Moving from one place to another. And then figuration is that concept of what you would say, figure things out, right? So for me, for the last, say, past 8 years, I've been figuring out things for my own self, not what I've been taught, what I've been given. And for me, it's like, hey, this is what I now find applicable, that whatever I did for myself, I can also do for somebody else. Perfect example, I hosted an event around trauma, and this three generations of women came to that event, grandma, mom, and daughter, and it's like they were treating themselves a certain way growing up, right? And it was until they came to the event and they started to figure out that, hey, you know what? This has been a trauma pattern in our life, generation after generation. And it just allowed them to now systematically put different things in place and started to actually move forward. So for me, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. The one weird thing about me that most people will never understand, like yesterday even at the event, people will see me out here doing all these things, but they would never understand that there's a saying that says never give up. I'm somebody who have given up so many times. I didn't give up because it's hard. I gave up because it's redundant. Like I get up every day, I'm seeing the same old thing over and over again. And it's like, even when you look at self mastery, right? So I used to teach. And when I was teaching, it's like, hey, the students are doing well. And it's like, when I look at my life, I'm like, whoa, I'm not doing well. They're doing well. And what I end up doing, I just give up teaching. Like, it wasn't hard. The students are doing well. Like, even one of those set of students that I taught, they got the highest score in the entire school in the math on what is called the PSSA. That means they're doing well. Was teaching hard? No. But it just became redundant that I went to school every day doing the same thing over and over again. And I just got up and I just gave up. So continually, I keep giving up. And I know the saying that says, hey, don't give up on your dreams. But for me, I just give things up. And you know what's so funny? I've given up so many times and then something else just comes in my way to start a whole new journey. And it's like, I guess you're not supposed to finish right here because I'm thinking that, hey, I'm done. And I'm telling you, it's not because it's hard. None of the things that I've ever done has been hard. It's just becomes redundant. It's like you get up every day, you're doing the same thing. And it's like you're looking at the results of the community and it's like it's not getting better. And people are putting on this facade that, oh, things are better. No, look at the numbers, look at the killing, look at the violence. It's like at one point I just gave up. And I remember the last time I gave up, July 28, 2016. Like this time I just called my mom and like I just finished school. Um, 2 months ago I graduated. Magna cum laude, right? And then 2 months after, I was like, I called my mom and said to my mom, Mom, I can't do this anymore, man. And it was because of the stuff that I learned in school. Like when I tell you it was so redundant, we're sitting out here trying to do these things, right? And it's like somebody sitting in the background making it hard for us. So when I started to learn certain things about psychology, I was like, wow, I'm just out here wasting my time. So July 28, 2016, I called my mom and I said to my mom, hey, I'm done with this community work. And then I went into behavioral therapist. Funny enough, right? So I'm working with students now in the classroom, right? Helping them with their behavior problem. I'm like, hey, I'm done with the community. Let me just find a population that I know that I'm going to work with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm in the school now and day by day I'm working with the students, right? And then I look around, I'm like, why is everything academic here? Like, don't they have anything social context around here? And I kid you not, I sat down and I designed this. Look how funny it is. This is what I actually designed. You see that? It says be the ant. And I was like, something like this need to be in a classroom where they come and they can see that life is more than just academic. Again, I was coming from a teacher, right? And when he told me as a student you got an A, I'm not impressed because I know the ins and out of getting an A. It's nothing difficult. You come to school, pay attention, do your work, participate, you get the A. So when I looked at it, I was like, wow, I'm in here as behavioral therapist helping someone with their behavior. I'm now looking at it from an academic standpoint now, like not from teaching, but from a behavior standpoint. And I'm like, why everything in the classroom is so academic? And I sat down and this was the poster that I actually designed. And that literally led me to start looking to go back in the community where I just gave up. So that is something that most people don't know about me. It's like, oh, Cleous Young, you're doing all these great things. But they would never realize that I've given up so many times, not because it's actually saying hard, because of the redundancy that I keep seeing in the community.
And even just the fact that you consider it giving up and the things are redundant and really the story that you're telling and how that all worked, you're making these little shifts and pivots, etc. One of the things that I love to nerd out about in my life, and obviously here on the show, is to take those moments. Like this is sort of a safe space in a sense. We can talk about the craziness and the stuff that's happened, but this is like a lab where we get to go, well, what actually happened there? Like, what did you do? How does that work? How do we implement it? What changes did we make? Or just watch the damn movie in a sense and go, wow, that was really cool. So I think that's some of the fun part of living because that's where we actually get to do the work. Like when you're in those moments, when that thing comes up and you go, wait a minute, everything's redundant. This is not what I want to do anymore. You're kind of still reacting or responding to the situation. And then from there, you really have to rely on the fucking work you've done in the past. Like these little moments to go, all right, what do we do now? I think of it almost like you'll have an issue or something that happens and you go, all right, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. What do I do? Some people will kind of watch their game tape in a sense. Other people will go, I don't want to go anywhere near it. Like that wasn't a thing I wanted to do or whatever. And then they run past. So when you talk about giving up, I want us to dive into that a bit because really there are people that have their own businesses or there are people that are working for a company or they've been in a marriage or a relationship or a system for so long, be it a family system, the whole fucking systems that we're part of, capitalism and everything else. And they're starting to look at that and going, well, shit, I want to give up, but it's not really giving up like from the interpretation that you could have right off the bat. I can almost guarantee somebody listening to you say, I give up a bunch. And then what you say where they're like, well, it's not really giving up. That's like giving into where you should be going. And when I think of giving up, it could mean this or that or whatever. When people give things up from a negative perspective, because it was a hard thing to do, or didn't work for them, I think there are some times where we can look at that and go, fuck, man, I gave up. Or, yeah, you're damn right, I gave up on this thing. Instead of saying, I moved that out of the way so I can go do these other things. So breaking down that moment, even 2016 or something that happened as of late, of like, all right, well, if you give something up, that's a big choice that you're making to say, I'm actually removing this because of all the work that happened underneath. So let's break that apart a little bit. When you give something up, what's sort of the, I don't know, not like the framework or like what the fuck process do you do, but if you really think about it, what are you doing in those moments? Because you feel something, you see something, and then you're making an actual decision to go, I'm moving you because I'm expecting something else to come along. Or am I off from that?
So a part of it is going to my interest, which is something that I started to pay attention to. Like, what is it that I'm really interested in? And I think you also hit a nail on the head. It's like, hey, it has come to a point where it's like it stopped. So I remember going into teaching, it's like, hey, I was promised all these things. And when I looked at it, it's like, hey, these things are not being fulfilled of what I was promised. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going away. So a part of it was looking at it and saying, hey, these are the things that I'm interested in, but those interests are not being met. So it's like, hey, I'm going to give this up. Why? Because it's like, I don't know, for me, my mindset is set on this. So I grew up in a culture where they say, if you love somebody, let them go. If they come back, then they were meant for you. So that's my mindset that, hey, when I give up things, it's like I have this program in me that says, hey, if it comes back, then it was meant for me. If it doesn't, then let me look for the next thing. I'm an author. The first book that I wrote, this was 26 years ago. Even that, I let that go and moved on and actually wrote on different books. I'm up to my 10th book now, right? But what came back actually now was my first book, which I just republished and launched last week. So 26 years later, it came back to me, and it's like lately I've been sitting down and I've been paying attention, and it's like, okay, this must have been meant for me because it's no way that I let it go 26 years ago and then now it's now back in my life, like showing me the reality of what I needed to do, to the point now I started to concentrate just on this concept for the last couple of months where I'm like, hey, I got this published now, right? So a part of me is like having your mindset where it's like, hey, yeah, I'm giving this up, but it's not giving it up because it's hard. It's like, where's the interest in it for me? Yes, I'm doing these things. I'm doing a great job as a teacher. But again, even when you look at the poster that I created, right? I was in the classroom. I'm doing a behavioral therapist work, but then I looked at it. It's like, where's my interest? So my interest is not being fulfilled here. And it's almost like when I started to understand these things now, it's like, hey, you got a bigger calling on your life and it's based on the things that you're interested in. And then here's a key component that I never understood until now. The reason, so I'm Jamaican. I came here to live in America, say 31 years ago, right? When I came here, my interest was playing soccer, which is called football. Very, very good at playing soccer, right? In high school, very, very good. I wanted to be the next Pele. At one point, I sat down and I looked at it and I said to myself, what would life be like to become the next Pele? And when I looked at that, I was like, wow, that's not something that I'm interested in. And what I did that moment, I gave it up. So when you ask that question now, what I've been doing over the years is paying attention to the things that I'm giving up and realizing that it's not that, hey, it's not hard. It's just that my interest is no longer in these things. And it's like I'm searching for something greater, and the greater can't come until I give those little things up. And as a soccer player in high school, where it's like I even started to sign autographs because people thought that I was going to be this big time player. So there's this big future waiting for me. And I looked at it and I'm like, hey, I'm not interested in that. Like the lifestyle of being a celebrity, kicking a ball in a goal. And it's like, at that moment, I was like, no, I don't want that. I want something more meaningful. I never knew what meaningful meant to me at that particular moment, but I know that being a soccer player, celebrity, that wasn't meaningful for me. So I gave it up and I started to look for something more meaningful that has interest in it for me. And the more I kept on going, so when I look at my path, I became a teacher, was very good. But it's like, hey, this is not meaningful. This is not interested to me. I gave it up. I became a behavioral therapist, same thing. So all these years, what I've been doing, I've been giving up things because in the back of my mind, it's like, hey, if you let it go, if it comes back, then it's meant for you. If it's not coming back, then the next step now is to search for something greater. And that's what I've been doing, just searching for something greater. And it was 8 years ago that I found what I've been looking for the last 26 years. And it has piqued my interest in such a way that it drives me on a day-to-day basis to say that, hey, this is what I was looking for. I never knew it 26 years ago when I said, hey, I don't want soccer, right? But I knew that I was looking for something that was meaningful, that intrigues my interest. And it's like, hey, this is what actually led to now. 8 years ago, I had this breakdown, which they would call depression. And something just came in my spirit and said, hey, look at what is called the black box of an airplane. And while it came in my spirit to look at that, it gave me the instructions of what to do. When I did that, I moved from what is called mental depression to mental aviation. And that alone piqued my interest to say that, wow, I was depressed a few weeks ago, right? And then now I followed this methodology around this black box thing that just spiritually came to me, right? As a revelation. And then here's it that I'm on a whole nother level of thinking now. And that piqued my interest. And from 8 years ago, I've been into this concept of understanding what is called the aviation industry. And I've never had an interest in saying, hey, let me give up. Because there's always something that's making me look at it and say, wow, I need to learn this. This is going to make me greater. And the more I learned it now, going back to the first question that you asked, it's like looking at it and saying that, hey, this is how I now make a difference in someone else's life. I use the aviation platform to help them to understand and figure things out now so they can get to their destination.
I think the fact that you talk about interests and asking yourself the like what's actually interesting to me and being able to see the self-awareness of, well, this is redundant or I don't want to do these things anymore. The thing that I like to be able to take from whatever we talk about on the show myself or with other people is for somebody to be able to go, all right, well, what's actually going on in my life? What do I get from this? Like, what do I do in my business or in my relationships or what have you? And I think the interest is a big thing that a lot of us are really pushed away from because of the systems that we have to deal with. Society here in the States tells us you need to go to school, you need to get a job, you need to have a family, you need to do these things, and blah, blah, blah. That's changing. That actually changed back in like the 90s, but it's taken now our generation to be able to understand like timeout. We need to do things differently. And the context of where things are with technology and just life in general and all of that. But the interest, it's a through line for all of our lives that if we look back at what are the things that are interesting to us or what are the things that drive me, I think sometimes we get lost when people ask, like, what gives you passion to wake up in the morning? And people are like, well, I hate my job, but I really like the money it pays me. So fucking, I guess that thing. And I think the big thing that we're looking at here is like going deeper to that to go, wait a minute. If I pause for a second and I understand what actually moves me a bit, we can then actually take steps from there. You pointed out with being a soccer player. I had a similar, not similar in a sense, or I wasn't signing autographs and stuff like that, but I wanted to be a rock star when I was in high school. And I remember thinking, like, I'm not going to do anything else. Fuck you guys. Fuck your school. I'm going to go be a rock star, blah, blah, blah. And I remember being probably 18 and registering, I don't know if I want to be on tour constantly, but I didn't talk to anybody about it. And I was into all types of drugs. And honestly, if I went on tour, I probably would have been dead within 6 months. But I remember thinking, I don't know if I really want to do that. And a couple years later, actually really diving into that and going, I like traveling, but I don't want to sleep on a fucking amp. I don't want to sleep on a bus. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And I think the point that I'm making with that is no matter what situation we're in right now, business, relationship, whatever it is, to take sort of a pros and cons list is one thing, but to understand what actually fuels you then actually helps us to understand what's pulling us from the situation. Like you still wanted to teach, but you were being called to do something else where it wasn't a major detriment to what you were doing, but it just wasn't the right vehicle. Like get out of that and jump into something else. And I don't want people to take from this to go, yeah, all right, well, fuck it. I'm telling that woman tonight we're getting a divorce, or I'm telling my boss he can eat shit right now. Like that's not it at all. But being able to understand why do we feel movement inside of us? So when you feel that movement, when you start to feel like there's something else there, what sort of advice do you give somebody that's like, I feel there's something in there, at least like starting to percolate a bit? What advice would you give them to be able to actually move that onto the next path in a healthy way and not just like, I'm going to burn the whole place down?
So it starts paying attention to and it's funny that you mentioned these things earlier that society says, hey, go to school, go get this job. Go. So it's like what you look at is like, hey, these are not the things that I'm really interested in. It's what society has given to me. So what society has given to us is like, hey, oh my goodness, this is what I'm going to formulate into. And I'm going to formulate into somebody that I'm not interested in. So when you look at it now and it's like, hey, these little things begin to peak inside of you, it's like, stop and pay attention. Pay attention to these little feelings that you're having inside because this is where everything starts. Yes, you have the money, but if you feel like, wow, I don't feel like myself, then pay attention to that because it's like, how do you have all this money, but you don't feel like yourself? Again, going back to what society has given to us, society has given, and I learned this from psychology, that they have given us what they wanted us to formulate into, right? So, society, if you go to the library, right, what's the norm that you have to do? You have to be quiet. Why? Because that's the norm. If you go to the bar, then you start to rile up. So, what happened is that society has given us all these norms that they want us to participate in, right? And at that moment, it may not be the things that we're interested in. No matter who you are, you're interested in getting love. No matter who you are, you're interested in getting support. No matter who you are, you need some type of interest in someone attending to what is it that you want to do in life. So when we look at it, it's like society just says, hey, go do this and get this, right? And you get it. And when you look at it, it's like you're not fulfilled. Why? Because your interest is never there. They just told you, go do this, and you did it. Just like me, I never understood this, but I grew up in Jamaica and soccer was the predominant thing for our culture. So it's not like I had any other choice to be interested in something else. It's like, hey, soccer was always around me. So that's what I became interested in. When I came to America now, when I sat down, it's like, yeah, I'm playing soccer, I'm doing well, right? But it's like something inside of me is like, hey, this isn't it. So when it started to come now, I started to sit down and I'm like, all right, what's going on? Then I'm like, all right, what is it gonna be for me to be like the famous soccer player like Pele? And when I envisioned that and I saw it, and I'm like, hey, you have this wealth, you're popular, you're famous, all of this. It's like, hey, that's not me. That's not what I want. That's not what I'm interested in. And I sat down and I was like, hey, I want to do something more meaningful out of life. And that little thing that just came about, I just started to pay attention to it now. What is more meaningful? What is more meaningful? That's how you started now writing more because I started to look at that's more meaningful than just playing football. It's like a master now writing, and it's like, oh, but that's not it. Let me go into teaching. And I now went into that, and it's like, hey, It's not it. So it's like when you have these little things, and it took me 26 years to find my interest, but it's like, hey, when you have this little thing inside of you, it's like start to pay attention to it. And that's what I could give anyone as good advice. Pay attention to those little things because it will lead to something greater later on.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we all notice things, you know, obviously I only know my own reality and you only know your own reality and whatever we spew to each other. But all the conversations I have with people, the mentoring or the coaching I get or coaching I give or any of that stuff, or even people here on the show, it's like we hear different things and we feel different things. And there are times where if we had to put an action to it, we basically go, fuck you, I see you, and just turn the other way and run, like, because we don't want to deal with it.
Mhm.
And I always like to ask again, and like the times when I do think of it and I'm aware of it, I'll grab it like it's an intruder in my house. Like, you're not going anywhere. I'm not going to let you leave. Let's figure out why you're here and what do we do with it. And I don't think people need to be that intense with it. And I've actually calmed down a little bit because like the first little while I did that, it was too much where I'd be fucked up for like a day or so because I'm like working on this thing. But if we are aware of those things and it keeps coming back, do something with it. If you have to have a conversation with somebody and it's tough, sometimes it's just a matter of saying, I don't know how to talk about this, but I feel I need to because it keeps coming back. I think that's a big thing that you're pointing out of like, I saw that I was interested in these things. I did these things. And then I realized like that's a step onto the next path.
Mhm.
And not in like a cheesy leadershipy sort of way, like this is the step to success, but like you do a thing and go, oh, cool. This isn't the end all be all. I feel like this is a part to what happens next. But because of that, you've made those other decisions that have led to that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes like the mindset portion of this is that people will get stuck and like today sucks. Sure, today may suck and like this week or this season or whatever. But for those people that are saying, look, I'm struggling, I can understand that I need to be aware of these things and work through it, specifically for the people that are trying to figure out their own version of self-mastery. What advice do you give to them?
As I said, 26 years ago, I had this inclination inside of me, right? That I want to do something more meaningful out of life. And I look at that now and I can see it. That has been my, what you would say, compass. So even though I gave up teaching, even though I gave up being a behavioral therapist, even though I gave up soccer and stuff like that, the context was that, hey, I had something in the background that was my compass. So no matter what I gave up, it's like something was still guiding me on that path until I found it now 26 years later. So when you're on this self mastery, now I look back, right? And everything that I've done, I've said thank you because I needed to do it. I needed to give up that teaching. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here. And I don't look at it and say, oh, that was a bad experience. No. Even when I went through the depression, I was blaming some friends. When I sat back and started to look now, and it's like, hey, this is beyond my friends, right? This goes back to my childhood. And when I started to look at that now, before I was blaming my friends and like, hey, they did these things behind my back. And now that I found out, I was so like, I went into a state of now I was high. And then now I went into a low state because I found out that like one of my business partners did this thing behind my back, right? And that's what led me to this depressional state. But when I looked at it now and started to peel back certain things and go back, it was like, wow, you know what? Thank you. Because if you never did that, then what happened? This black box revelation wouldn't even come in my journey. Now I'm having this interest in this black box theory, right? So when I look back at now, I just go back and I'm like, wow, you know, it was bad. Yeah, the depression was bad, but guess what? It was needed. You know, I gave up teaching, but guess what? It was needed. You know, I gave up being a behavioral. All of these steps that I've done in the last 26 years, they were needed, even though at that time they were painful and whatever. But going back to 26 years ago, I had this one little thing inside of me that says, hey, this is the compass. You need something more meaningful out of life. And that became my mindset and it just guided me to where I'm at right now. So anyone that's looking for like a self mastery stuff, like even for me now, yeah, I found my interest, but it's like now I'm working on how do I master it. But I set a vision from 26 years ago that says, hey, this is what I want. I want something more meaningful. And all these things for me was just a trial and error. Like, that's why I said it wasn't hard for me to give it up because it was like, hey, this is not what I want. Why am I saying that? Because I know that a couple years ago I said I wanted something more meaningful. And when I look at the equation of what I was getting, I was like, this is not meaningful. All right, let me let that go and get to somewhere else. And all of that now I started to know what is called. So I learned about this and going back to this, you remember I said about interest? Now talking to someone from a financial standpoint, right? We talk about what is called compounding interest. And compounding interest is when you make an investment and that starts to compound, the interest starts to compound and it gives you more. So for me, it's like I started to look at it. I'm like, wow, 26 years ago, everything that I did, it was like a compounding result to get me to this, what is called the compound interest. It's like I made an investment 26 years ago and now I'm seeing the results of all the things. And yes, I didn't get the results when I was a teacher. I didn't get the results when I was a soccer. All these things I didn't get the results, right? But it was what is called a compounding effect. So the things that I did here, the things that I did there, everything was needed to the point of where I'm at today. And I know people don't say this like, oh, my life is perfect. And that's to them. For me, I could say my life is perfect. Why? Because even with the downs, the ups, the left, the right, I set out 26 years ago to accumulate something in my life, and that's where I'm at now, like perfectly. I'm not 1 mile off or one decision off. I'm perfect to where I said, hey, this is what I wanted 26 years ago. So it's like life is perfect. Do I have everything that I need? No. Do I always get everything that I need? No. But guess what? 26 years ago, when I said I wanted my life to be meaningful, my life is meaningful today. And not only can I figure things out for myself, I help others to figure things out for themselves. And to me, that is what my meaningfulness is all about. How could I make my life better for somebody else? When I look back at soccer, I was like, hey, when I become a celebrity, that's me. When I make all this money, that's me. That's not meaningful to me. I want my life to be relevant to somebody else. And that's what I've done in the last 26 years. So anyone that's out there that's looking for self-mastery, it's a journey of up, it's a journey of down, it's a journey of left. You're going to cry, you're going to feel like giving up, all of that, but it's all a part of the process. And I wish I had someone there that could actually give me these advice. Like, Cleous, when you're going through that hard times, right? It's not to think about, oh, this is the end of your story, but that's what's needed for you to go to the next chapter. And chapter by chapter, your life is like a book in this world. Chapter one, you start out with this, chapter two, and by the time you finish your life in this, you're supposed to complete a book. Why? Because that book is going to be given to somebody else now. So your life is gone, but that book can now be given to somebody else and said, hey, this is what Cleous did, and it made a significant difference for him. You can read this book now about his life, and then now you have some type of path that you can actually go on to discover your path and begin to figure things out. And for me, that's what I could tell anyone. Um,
Yeah. What a great way to put that, too, especially to think of the legacy component of that. Even if it's not an actual physical book or digital book or what have you, there's still lessons and things that I think people that are within our circles see and take from us, even if we're not freely giving it out. We're just being who we are. And for us to be able to be aware of that, to go, this thing feels off to me, or it feels right to me, or I've noticed this. Like, I hope that somebody listens to this and goes, damn, I keep hearing these things. And now I'm hearing a podcast episode about it. Like, there's something to it, you know? Like, great, go do something with it. Like, here's your chance, you know? So, Cleous, man, I really appreciate you being here today. Before I let you go, where can people find you and where can they connect with you?
So I'm on the different social medias. they can go on either, say, LinkedIn or what is called Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. And you can find me there under my name, Cleous Young, or the Airport Adventure, or the Mountain of Miracles. Those are things that are used to actually identify me. I'm currently in Philadelphia, but I travel with go to different places and stuff like that. So if people are interested in me coming out, I could come to the different locations as well. But Philadelphia is my base, and it's been a journey here. Even that, it's like learning about who I am in this city called Philadelphia. Like learning how to master yourself in Philadelphia. Um, so anyone that's interested, if they're in the Philadelphia area, I do monthly events here. They can reach out to me through any one of the social medias. And then the Bible is a book. The Bhagavad Gita is a book. The Quran is a book. These are all stories that are put together to show that, hey, this is what others have done. You can learn from it. And it's like, for me, that's all my life is. It's like, yeah, I write books, but I also want my life to be that book that somebody can open up afterwards when I'm gone. And it's like, hey, this is what I could learn from this person who was here once ago. So that's life. And to me, that's what meaning is. Not only when you're on here on earth, but when you leave and you go, you can still have meaning here to somebody who is going to take a new path to life.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you being on today. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. Wonderful.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the episode, please jump over to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you consume podcasts, and subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. It's very much appreciated and also helps other people find the show and experience healing just like us. Please also head over to our website, themindsetandselfmasteryshow.com, where you can check out all of our episodes and find additional resources to help you manage your mindset as you seek self-mastery. So with that, thank you, and remember, your mindset matters, and so do you.